Hey, Alise, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Hi, Lacey. Thanks for having me.
As a business owner myself, I see the importance of bookkeeping, and I realized I have not done a show about it at all. So I thought this would be a really fascinating topic, and you are a lady that knows all about it. So thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I want to start off with what is bookkeeping as it relates to being a business owner?
Sure. So, bookkeeping is essentially just a system for a business owner to keep records that track things like their revenue, their expenses, their profit, their cash position, things like that. It's basically, you know, the 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 book of the business essentially. It kind of tells the story of what a business is doing financially.
Why is it important for a business owner to be good at bookkeeping or hire somebody that's good at bookkeeping?
Yeah, that's a great question. Two different things. It's not imperative that a business owner be a professional bookkeeper themselves. However, it is important that they have at least a basic understanding of some financial principles and some bookkeeping ideas. They can certainly partner with a professional bookkeeper to kind of help them in that area. Why is it important? It's important because it tells a business owner what their business is doing. As a business owner, you know that you often have to make decisions about things. You have to make decisions about possibly your customers. You have to make decisions about investments you're going to make or things that you're going to spend money on for your business. And without understanding the financial position your business is in, it can be very difficult to make those decisions. And so, bookkeeping and accounting, as a broader sense, is what really can help a business owner understand what's happening in their business and help them make future planning decisions.
How is it for people that aren't making consistent revenue yet? Because I it will be fully honest, me starting out in my coaching business and all the other things I've done in my businesses that money just doesn't fly at you. Like you have to do sales and marketing and get business. And so if you're not making consistent revenue, I feel like that can be put off on the back burner. Like, oh, well, I'm not making any money. And so you're not creating the system. Should people that aren't bringing in a ton of money in the beginning start a system, or should it just be less complicated? I would think that all of it shouldn't be complicated, I guess. But what's your advice for people that are just starting out? I mean, it'd be wonderful if you start out and you're making a ton of money, but that's not the case for most of us.
Yeah, so I always tell people that it's really important to have some sort of system, get organized and have some sort of system from the beginning, whether you're bringing in a lot of revenue or not. If you have a business, your intention is at some point to bring in revenue and at some point to make money, right? We don't generally go into businesses to lose money. But when you're first starting out, that doesn't happen immediately. And so oftentimes what you're doing is you're spending money to try to make money, right? Like you said, you're doing some marketing, you're doing some maybe startup costs for the business, you're doing some free events or giveaways or things to kind of generate interest in your business. If you're selling a product, sometimes you're selling it at a discounted rate at the beginning while you build up your clientele. The bookkeeping is not just to track your revenue, it is also to track your expenses. So it's important to see where you're spending money and what categories. And eventually, as that starts to turn into revenue, you are able to do some analysis on, how much did I spend to make this amount of money? And is that sustainable going forward? The second reason I think that it's important to have a system in the beginning is when you start a business and you are incurring expenses and you're maybe not even making revenue, these expenses are still business tax write-offs, right? And so keeping track of them and keeping accurate records is going to help you be able to substantiate those as legitimate business expenses and, tax deductions for you during that phase.
So you mentioned having a system. What are some other best practices that people should do in the beginning from day one, so that way, because I feel like it can start to get ahead of you. You know, when you start bringing in money, and maybe you have more expenses, and then other things come in along the way. Like every business owner has a life too. You know, they have a family and other things they're doing. So how can they set themselves up for success?
Yes. So if you're thinking about starting a business or you're just starting a business, in this area, one of the most important things is to get yourself organized and keep detailed records from the beginning. There's a number of ways you can do that. You can keep an old-fashioned file folder with receipts. You can scan things in. You can have an accounting system. But make it a priority to find a system that's going to work for you to get organized and to keep detailed records of all of the money you're spending or any money that you're bringing in for this business. The second most important thing, and I see this a lot with small business owners, is to make a commitment at the beginning that you are going to keep your personal financial records separate from your business financial records. It's very, very simple. Once you start a business, you get a tax ID number to go into any bank and open a free business checking account using your business tax ID. Commit that you are only going to run your business expenses through that bank account, that you're not going to run your personal expenses through, and you're not going to run business expenses through your personal accounts. One of the biggest things that I see people get into trouble with is that commingling of business and personal expenses, and it can become a very expensive and time-consuming task to try to unwind that kind of stuff later on. So it's just a really great thing to start with. Whether you choose to use an accounting software or not from the beginning, it's kind of up to you and the complexity and size of your business. Some people feel very comfortable using an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. But as your business grows and you want to start billing customers and maybe being able to collect electronic payments and stuff like that, the importance of using an accounting system is really important. It really can help run some of the business processes more smoothly and make it a lot easier for whoever's doing your bookkeeping, for your tax preparer, for you to see reports and things like that. And don't be afraid that when this gets to a point where it's beyond maybe the business owner's skill set or time demands to keep up with this themselves, to hire somebody and get some professional assistance with this. The payback on it is, the return on investment on it is pretty good, because it's going to free up your time as a business owner to work on your actual business and do the things you need to do to make money in the business. And you can outsource this piece of it that will save you a lot of time and a lot of heartache if it's not a specialty of yours.
When you say outsource it, what does that look like? If you hire somebody to do your bookkeeping, they are, let's say you have a business expense, you go to Office Depot and buy something, or you pay for software online, if you're paying for office space or something like that. They input that stuff for you into whatever your accounting system is?
Yeah, it can look a lot of different ways. That can look like you having an in-house person who's physically there working with you and inputting these things. Bookkeeping is something that can be done for many businesses remotely. A lot of the software out there, and the software that I use, allows my clients to literally snap a photo of a receipt using their phone, and it uploads it right to the software, so I can see a copy and I can see the charge come through a credit card or a bank account, match them up, and kind of handle it all without any further conversation or involvement from the business owner. So there's a number of different ways that can look, but remote bookkeeping is a pretty in-demand profession right now. And yeah, it can be done in a lot of different ways.
How is bookkeeping different from being an accountant? I feel like some people get that confused, thinking your accountant is going to do all of that bookkeeping for you, like come tax time, like they're going to sort all of those things out. What's the difference?
Okay, so I had a 25-year career in corporate accounting and finance. So I am an accountant by trade, by degree, by profession. In the world as I see it now, when small business owners talk about accountants, they're more often referring to the person who prepares their tax returns. They're talking about a tax preparer, a CPA, an enrolled agent, somebody of that nature. And so, yes, it's true when there are a number of CPAs or EAs or other tax preparers that will take somebody's crate of paperwork in February or March every year and make some attempt to sort through it and get it into a position that's good enough to file a tax return. And that's great. That's all good and well. What a bookkeeper can provide, or when you're giving somebody ongoing bookkeeping and accounting support, what that provides for the business owner is more of a real-time view of what their business is doing. If you're bringing in revenue all year and you're spending money all year and you're not really keeping track of it in any kind of system, you're just kind of managing your business by the balance of your checking account. It's really hard to make some decisions on pricing, on scaling, on growth, or maybe hiring somebody to help you in some area of the business, because you just don't really have a real good grasp of what's going on. What a bookkeeper and an accountant can do for you throughout the year is, keep these things up to date so that every month you can have a financial statement that says, this is how much revenue I brought in this month. This is how much my expenses were this month. This is my profit or my loss for the month. And you can make real-time decisions based on that versus kind of coming back at the end of the year. Also, by doing it regularly, you have a much better chance of getting your expenses kind of categorized correctly. And so you can really look back and be like, well, how much did I spend on marketing this year? How much did I spend on maybe travel? Or I work with a lot of service-based home type of businesses. So maybe it's important for them to say, well, how much did I spend on fuel in my trucks? And how much did I spend on insurance? And how much did I spend on actual materials that went into doing the job? If you're kind of just getting everything thrown in for tax purposes at the end of the year, you don't have really any good visibility of which to make business decisions.
Yes, and I am guilty of this myself, is the time thing that you mentioned, just absolutely running out of time. So, I mean, I think, as a business owner, you are trying to create something out of thin air. Like, you're trying to bring in money, create work, and that in itself is the full-time job that you have, and doing all of those other things, the worker bee things, make it difficult for you to wear those two hats. And when you throw in bookkeeper on top of that, that's some of those things get pushed to the wayside, because ultimately, like you said, you're trying to make money, you're trying to bring in revenue, you want to turn a profit, and having somebody that's their zone of genius that they do all the time, and like you said, being a sounding board, I think is can help you grow.
Absolutely. I kind of equate it to, we all have skill sets in this world, and I'll tell you just kind of a quick personal story on this. Is we were trying to fix something on our deck, and we were trying to create bigger gaps in the deck boards and use various tools that weren't working properly, and it was very slow going, and I realized I could call somebody who's very skilled in woodworking who could do this in a couple of hours, something that was going to take me weeks to probably get through, slogging along. And it wasn't going to really cost that much money because the person I was hiring to do it could do it very quickly and efficiently and had the right tools. And, I didn't have to go out and buy a whole bunch of tools and try to figure this out. And so a bookkeeper can kind of be the same thing. As a business owner, if bookkeeping or accounting is not your skill set, you may spend a lot of time trying to figure it out. it becomes kind of a dreaded task that you don't want to do. It's not really your forte. And you can spend a lot more time on it than somebody who, has the right tools, the right skill set, and can kind of, get through it a lot more quickly. And it doesn't have to be as scary of a thing, and maybe not as big of a cost as you think it might be to get that. And the peace of mind and the business decisions that you can make with accurate and timely information oftentimes will more than pay for the cost of having somebody do this for you.
Yes, I think that's helpful to be able to make an informed decision, especially when it comes to your money. That's peace of mind, and like you said, saves you money in the long run. I want to talk, you touched on cost. What does it cost to hire a bookkeeper? I know it probably depends on the size of your business, I guess, how much stuff you have coming in, going out. And what does that look like? Is that monthly? Is that per task? How does that work?
Yeah, it depends. I know everybody loves those answers, right? And you did touch on it. It depends, of course, on the type of business, the size of the business, the number of transactions, number of bank accounts, credit cards, type of transactions they have. I do pricing in a couple of different ways. I have clients that I do their full service bookkeeping and accounting every month for them. That includes pretty much all of their transactional stuff. I may run payroll for them. I keep all of their accounts reconciled, run financial statements and management reports for them every month. So that's kind of like a full service. And in a situation like that, I'm usually doing a one-time setup or a cleanup project to get everything in order, and then, a monthly fee for that. I have other clients that are pretty skilled in doing their own bookkeeping. I've maybe given them a little bit of training, and they are handling the day-to-day transactional stuff. And I am maybe doing a quarterly review and then an end of the year review with them to make sure that everything ties out, that they didn't misclassify anything, and that they're ready for tax time. And then I have some other clients that I'm kind of just doing the higher level project work for them, I guess. They are able to handle a lot of the day-to-day stuff on their own. But when they have something like they've purchased a new business asset or taken out a loan or done something that's a little more complex than just like going to Office Depot on the business credit card, right? Then I'm kind of handling those things on an ad hoc, a la carte special projects, type of basis. But for most people that don't really find bookkeeping or accounting to be in their wheelhouse, outsourcing it on a monthly basis, on the full cycle monthly basis stuff seems to be the more popular way to go.
Yes. Well, I think it's peace of mind too, to know that you have a second set of eyes on things, somebody that's focused directly on that. Because I think as a business owner, your focus is in a lot of different places, and knowing that the money is being coordinated by somebody else, I think would be helpful. When it comes to people that are doing it, bookkeeping on their own, is there like a routine that they follow? Like I say I try to do, bookkeeping a certain day of the week or a certain time of the month, but again, going back to that busy factor, then it's like, okay, well, I could push that and add this other thing into my calendar. So I'm guilty of moving it around. But is that something that people need to do, is have dedicated time for their bookkeeping?
Yeah, for my clients that do try to do a lot of that on their own, again, it kind of depends on the size of their business. But at a minimum, I tell them that they've got to set aside some time every week to make sure that they're recording any expense transactions that they've done. Making sure they have receipts, kind of categorizing what the category of that expense was. If they are in a type of business where maybe they are collecting cash or check payments, that they need to go to the bank and deposit their funds minimum once a week. If they're in a type of business where they have to do invoicing, that they're invoicing at least once a week, because these things can all kind of get away from you. And the longer it goes in between looking at some of this stuff, it's like hard to remember what you did yesterday, let alone what did I buy 6 weeks ago at Walmart that I put on my business card, or something like that. Or did I collect payment from that customer? Did I take that check to the bank? Did they pay me? Things like that, the more time that elapses in between the event and when you're looking at it, the harder it kind of is to remember what happened. I have a client that one of the things I was able to start doing for him was providing a list of unpaid invoices to him. He was in a home service type thing where he was going around, doing work at people's house, and 90% of the time people would pay him on the spot when he was there. But every once in a while they would say, oh, I'll go online and pay it later, or I'll Venmo you later, or I'll mail you a check, or some other excuse, right? And he'd say, okay. And then he'd go on with his business and kind of forget who had paid him and who hadn't paid him. And so that was one of the big, value I was able to bring to him, is to say, hey, every month when I'm wrapping up your stuff, is I'm giving him a report of, hey, these are the customers that you saw over the last couple of weeks that haven't, that promised to pay you and haven't yet paid you, so that he could follow up with them before he went to their house again. Or just call them if he wasn't going to their house again. But prior to that, he just didn't have that kind of visibility. And by the time maybe he thought, I don't know if that person paid me again, he was too worried of looking like a fool and being wrong, or saying to a customer, I don't think you paid me, and then they did, that he was just kind of letting it go. And that was just lost money.
Yes, that is huge. But most people probably would want to pay. They also don't want him to think that they're not paying. No. But you're right. It creates this weird dynamic, especially going in person. It's one thing if you could just send an email or a phone call or a text. It's different. Yes. Be like, hey, guess what? You didn't pay me. Yeah.
And like you said, it's most likely an oversight. It's not likely that people were intentionally trying to rip him off. But it just created a whole awkward thing where he was like, I really don't remember. I don't remember what happened. And I don't want to accuse them of not paying me if they did. And so this just became very clear. It's like, hey, here's a report every month. It's, at most it's a couple weeks old since they were supposed to pay you. It's not a big deal to just follow up on it now.
Yes, so, that is a huge benefit. You being the second set of eyes. I one time was invoicing for something, and I forgot that it had changed, and I invoiced under what I was due, and I didn't catch it till later. And it was everything was paid, and it would have meant me going back and admitting I made a mistake, but I lost $2,000 because of the mistake I made. And I was like, darn it, that would have, been helpful to have $2,000 more in my bank account, but lesson learned.
Yes.
It definitely sticks with me now. I quadruple check all that stuff.
Yes.
So, but an expensive mistake to make, but having somebody else look at it, would have made it help, catch that. So.
Yes, absolutely.
When you're looking at hiring somebody for a bookkeeper, how do you find somebody that works well with you? And what do you do if, you decide that I don't like working with this person? Because now it seems like you've given them a lot of, transfer, because that's a lot of work. I guess not a ton. If you're using an accounting system, you probably just give them, accountant access like QuickBooks or something like that. Mm-hmm. But how do you start the relationship and end it?
So I would encourage you to, reach out and talk to at least a couple different people. Find somebody who is going to provide the level of service that you're looking for. There are probably some people out there that are like, I will only do full service, take it or leave it. This is the thing. I tend to be a little more flexible and say, hey, and I've had clients who want to start out doing more of it on their own, and then eventually, call me back and say, all right, what would this cost if you just did us all? Because this just is still, more than I want to be doing. Or their time can be, most often it's that their time can be spent better elsewhere. Something that they're spending 5 hours a week on might be something I can do in 45 minutes a week for them. And then they have their 5 hours to go, scout new business, earn money elsewhere, or do whatever they need to do on their business. So I encourage you to talk to, at least a few different people, kind of find out the service level, find a service level that you're comfortable with. And just somebody that, that you can get into kind of a good rhythm with. As a business owner, you may be somebody who's like, hey, send me an email once a week if you need, if there's missing receipt copies or you need clarification on something. Other people want to be, have a ongoing text relationship with their bookkeeper or pick up the phone and call. So I think it's just kind of important to identify in yourself what your level of communication is and how you're going to be able to respond to the bookkeeper as well, because it will involve some participation on your part. It's not completely hands off. Oftentimes, even when a client is uploading copies of receipts or putting in transactional information, sometimes it's not 100% clear to the bookkeeper what the business nature of this expense was or what exactly was purchased. And so, just finding somebody who gets into that right cadence. Like, do you want a bookkeeper who's going to text you right away and be like, hey, what'd you buy here? Or do you want somebody who's going to be at the end of the month kind of send you a list of hey, I need clarification on these 5 things so that I can finish up your books for the month. So finding that right cadence of communication and service level.
You said a few things there that I love. First of all, the time. I have been so guilty of this, especially even not just bookkeeping, accounting, attorneys, that I'm scared to hire somebody because I'm that's going to take 2 weeks. And then they're like, oh, no, that's going to take us an hour. So it's just 1 hour at our rate. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I can afford that. But I'm thinking in my mind, that's going to take a long time to figure out, forgetting that's their expertise and that it's taken them a long time to be able to answer a question in 45 minutes instead of 2 weeks.
Right. And so if somebody quotes you an hourly rate that sounds scary to you, but keep in mind, yes, they might be able to do this much quicker than you can do this on your own.
Yes. I also found that it's peace of mind to have somebody on deck. I've said this on the show before about business, just having the people that you need when there's a problem. It's great feeling to just send something out and it come back done and great, but it's even better feeling when something horrible is going on and you have somebody already that you can call that's going to calm you down or give you the next step or tell you, wait a minute, that is not even something to worry about, that's nothing. And then they've just alleviated it through one email or one call. So having those people, I think, is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you said, an attorney has worked with a lot of people and seen a lot of things. A bookkeeper or an accountant has often worked with thousands of clients in many different industries and seen a lot of things. And so when something does come up, someone experienced can say, oh, no, I've seen this before. I've run into this with another client, or I saw another client solve this problem this way. I mean, that's not even really it's almost a business consulting person as well, right? Because it's not even just bookkeeping. It's oh, hey, I've seen somebody else solve this issue another way. Have you, thought about trying this or looked into this resource?
Yeah, at some point you go from mom and pop to needing something a little bit more, and moving out of that area, like you said, freeing up time to be able to do other things and make more money is often better spent. But I also agree with you saying that you have to have some ownership. You're going to be involved in the process to do things like upload receipts, but you wouldn't want to give away full control of your money. That's how that becomes a news story. Later on.
No, and as a bookkeeper or an accountant for some people, I don't want full control over anybody's business accounts. I only want accountant access. I only want view only, to your business bank account so that I can see the transactions. I can pull the statements without having to be like, hey, Lacey, can you download the bank statement for me? I want to be able to have agency to do that, but not have agency to make any transactional things because there's no need for it. And I want the business owner to have, like you said, ownership of that and understanding of that and have a very open line of communication about what's going on.
What's your advice for people that are right now either doing really well in business and maybe don't have a bookkeeper, have been doing it on their own, or people starting out, like this fear of taking the next step? What's your advice for them to just get going on it?
So I would advise them to give it a shot, to find somebody. You talked about earlier about how you find somebody so one of the things that when I work with somebody is I will not sign a monthly agreement to do somebody's bookkeeping until I have done, like I said, either the initial setup project or a cleanup project of some sort. Even people whose books are fairly clean generally need some kind of catch up, clean up thing to get everything current. What that allows is it's almost like a trial basis period between the business owner and the bookkeeper, right? To say, hey, how is this going to work? Is the business owner happy with the service the bookkeeper is providing? And is the bookkeeper satisfied with the level of involvement and forthrightness and ownership that the business owner is providing? And that's, to me, something that's really important. And so you can hire a bookkeeper to kind of do your setup or do your cleanup project, and that will give you a good sense of, what is this going to look like, and how do I feel about this person, and how do I feel about the value that they provided me, and does this seem like an ongoing valuable relationship for me going forward? I like to think that, I use that time to really show the value that can be provided, and the amount of time that it can save a business owner. And just by giving them a clean set of financial statements and saying, do you know that, do you realize that this was how much revenue you brought in last year, and this is what your expenses were, and that you spent the most money in this area? I had a client that I helped, they needed to increase their prices, and they had no awareness of how dire that need was. They were selling a service. They were continued to sell services and were just trying to manage their business by, well, I still have money in my bank account, so I think I'm good to go. Not realizing that many of their expenses had increased, and they weren't increasing their prices to their customer. And so when I was able to kind of show them, on a per job or per week of jobs basis, you're actually losing money on a lot of these jobs without realizing it. And the only reason you still have money in your bank account is because you're selling future job. You're selling the job you're going to do next week and the week after that. And so the money is kind of keeps coming in and you're not running out. But if a week happened and you couldn't sell any jobs, this is going to catch up to you really quickly. And you've got to go in and increase your prices, or else this is not a sustainable business.
Yeah. Service-based one, I got the flu one time, and that gave me really good perspective on being down and out.
Yeah.
It
if you're the only person, yeah.
Mm-hmm, yep. So that was definitely a learning lesson about diversifying the way I bring in money, and for other various reasons too, diversifying my income. But that's really hard because you're sick, it takes a long time to recover. And that was just the flu, a really bad case of the flu. But if it was something worse,
right,
like a hospitalization, and if I was prepaid to do something, then it becomes a bigger issue. So that's great, though. I don't think a lot of people realize what you said, that there's actually a lot more to bookkeeping. You're pointing out things that might not be obvious to you, or you don't even know that you're supposed to know, because that might not be your business, is money and books and accounting. You know, you might be a mechanic, you might be, you know, a fashion designer, and having perspective on what this all means, what this, the books, the stories telling, I think is wonderful for people that you share that.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and I do want to put a disclaimer in there. I'm not going to promise that every bookkeeper is going to provide that level of service, or that is even going to have that skill set. I'm in a little bit of a unique position in kind of coming from a career where I understood these things, and it really makes me happy to be able to help other business owners learn, you know, some of those things, and be able to share some of that expertise and just say, hey, have you ever thought about, you know, increasing your prices, or, you know, making sure you're collecting on invoices that aren't paid. And these are things that, you know, can seem obvious, but aren't always. If you're, you know, if that's not your background, and that's not where you came from on the business side of things, and you've started up a business without really being a business person, this can be really valuable information.
Yes, definitely. Well, I want to ask you a couple of quick random questions I ask everybody.
Sure.
First off, what is one resource or tool that you use that makes your life or work easier?
I have to say that one of the best things I've spent money on in the past year that has made my life easier is grocery delivery. Talk about saving time and outsourcing something that you don't enjoy doing, that takes up a lot of your time. And I even find that I think it saves money too, because you're not wandering around the store picking up things that weren't on your list, or, you know, you just get sort of, you know, whatever. You know, enticed to buy something you see on the store shelves. That is one of my favorite life hacks that I've found over the past couple of years.
Yes, I love that one too. That's good. I use it when I travel too. Instacart to get
Yes.
groceries delivered to save money on
Yes.
my food costs for conferences and things like that.
I as well was the person down in the lobby at FinCon last year getting my Walmart grocery delivery.
Yes, yes.
So that I could have some, you know, snack and breakfast options in my room, as well as, you know, not spend $30 every time I walked out of the hotel for a meal. So, yeah.
It adds up. People do not realize, especially
Yeah.
tip, and
Yeah.
even if you and then if you leave the hotel, you have to take an Uber to a lot of
Yes.
times to the places you're going to
Yes.
eat, and then in addition to paying for that food. So, yes, getting groceries delivered is a huge lifesaver. So that's a good one. What is your favorite book right now, or your favorite book of all time?
Oh boy. I can't think of one super recently. One of my favorite ones of all time is Shoe Dog, which is the Nike story.
Oh yeah.
By Phil Knight, I believe. Yeah. That is one of my favorite books. I probably I read it pre-pandemic, so it's probably been about 5 years ago now. And I recommend that one to everybody. I just love that book. And like from a financial standpoint, I'm still a total geek on like The Millionaire Next Door. another oldie but goodie.
Well, I'll be sure to put links to those in the show notes for everybody. Now it is time for my favorite part of the podcast, which is game time. And in honor of your visit, we are going to be playing spring trivia.
Okay.
I am going to give you 5 trivia questions with multiple choice answers. If you get 3 out of the 5 correct, you get bragging rights that you won game time on the MILMO show.
Okay.
All right.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure, no pressure. Number 1. With several varieties weighing less than a coin, what is the smallest bird in the world? Is it A, a finch, B, sparrow, or C, hummingbird?
The lightest bird? Is that what the question was?
Yes.
Weighs.
Well,
okay.
It says it weighs less than a coin, but it is the smallest bird in the world. So the
Oh,
question
smallest.
is, what is smallest?
Okay, a hummingbird then I'm going to go with.
Yes, that is correct. Number 2, what unique trait differentiates bees from wasps? Is it in their appearance? So what makes them different in their appearance between bees and wasps? Is it A, bees have branched or feathered hairs? B, bees have brighter colors? Or C, bees have larger eyes than wasp? All these are bees and wasps. So it's A, bees have branched or feathered hairs. B, bees have brighter colors. Or C, bees have larger eyes.
I don't think it's C. And so I think their yellow is a lighter color, but the whole thing with their hairs, they seem fuzzier. So I'm going to go with A.
That is correct.
Okay.
You did a really great job of narrowing that down. I have doing game time on this show for all of these years. I've started to realize who are the good test takers.
I'm a good test taker, yes.
I am not a good test taker. That's why I can pick it out. I bet you do awesome. Okay. I can learn a lot from people taking game time tests. All right, number 3. Which of these is not a reason why woodpeckers peck wood? Is it A, to chisel holes for nesting, B, to find insects to eat, or C, to scare predators?
Which is not a reason.
Not a reason why they peck wood.
Not to keep me awake at night.
Yeah.
I'm also going to go with A on that one to create shelter.
No, they do not peck wood to scare predators.
Scare predators. Okay.
Yeah.
That would have been my second guess.
Yeah.
I knew this. I knew the looking for food.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that figured out. Okay. Number 4. Which bird is known for its ability to turn its head more than 180 degrees in either direction due to the fixed position of its eyes? Is it A, an owl, B, a parrot, or C, a hummingbird?
That would be an owl.
That is correct. Okay.
Fun fact.
Yes,
I am
fun.
deathly afraid of owls. So the
Really?
fact that you asked me that is hilarious. Yes.
Well, this is going to scare you then. One time, my family and I were walking on this trail, and my youngest son had a skateboard, and he wasn't that young. He was maybe 8. And he was skating ahead of us on the board and stopped to bend, I think, to tie a shoe or something like that. So he bent over, and when he was bent down, we realized he looked obviously a lot smaller, and a huge owl, it was like at dusk, flew down out of the tree and with its talons out, and just then my youngest son stood up, and then it flew back, to the tree. But it was so close. It was so close.
No.
I've never seen an owl that close or in flight or in that way, and it was going after my son, so I was a little freaked out.
No, that's a big no.
Yeah. It's thank goodness he stood up. So, okay, well, good to know. You are scared of owls.
I am. That is a fun trivia fact you can use at a later date.
That is. Okay, number 5. In Roman mythology, which goddess is associated with the flowering of plants and the arrival of spring? Is it A, Venus, B, Juno, or C, Flora?
Oh, this feels like a trick question. Flora?
That's correct.
Okay, not a trick question.
Well, you definitely are proven you're a great test taker, and you have won game time on the MILMO show.
All right.
Appreciate you playing and being on the show. Can you tell everybody listening where they can learn more about you and what you're up to?
Sure. So if you're interested in talking to me about bookkeeping or accounting or following me there on social, I'm on Instagram at JL Books and Counts, on Facebook at JL Endeavors Bookkeeping and Accounting Solutions. You can also go to jlendeavors.com to find my website with various bookkeeping, accounting, and personal finance solutions offerings that I have.
Wonderful. Well, I'll be sure to put links to all of that in the show notes for everybody. Thank you again, Alise. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Lacey.